Wyatt begins in like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome to Wyatt, and I'm your host, Wyatt O'Brien Evans. Grr, woof, goddammit, woof, woof, woof. Arf. My listeners. Wyatt becomes a laugh factory today due to our very, very special guest, Mr. Anthony Oakes. Y'all, he's a rising stand-up performer who's really, really on the move and making lots of waves in the business. And we're going to laugh our asses off with him in just a few minutes. And after the show, visit my online home, WyattEvans.com. WyattEvans.com. The go-to destination for LGBTQ news, features, commentary, and entertainment. WyattEvans.com is visited by over 100 countries on the regular. All I can say to that is, yeah, baby. At WyattEvans.com, you'll find my smoking hot. That's HAWT hot. Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels. And y'all, the current installment is titled Frenzy! Yes, Frenzy. Frenzy is chock full of masculine romance, mystery, action, intrigue, danger, and the blazing heat of 1,000 suns of erotic passion and steaming nastiness. I said nastiness. And next year, the next chapter in the Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series drops. It's called Delirium. I said Delirium. Yeah, Delirium is all about the continuing story of Wesley and Antonio. You know, all about their exploits, their passion, their freaking hotness, all of that. And 2 bags, not 1, but 2 bags of chips. Yeah, baby. More details to come. Oh, Mr. Wyatt O'Brien Evans, nobody, and I do mean nobody, cares a freaking fig about that new Delirium book. Oh, good golly, Miss Molly. Just what kind of book title is that anyway? Delirium? Well, I'm delirious. Well, look at who's here. Look who's here. It's Madam Pussy Galore, Cock-a-doodle-doo, Drag Queen Supreme. Oh, yes, it is moi. And your delirium thing is gonna be a loser, I say. Well, Madam Pussy Galore, Cock-a-doodle-doo, Drag Queen Supreme. Now, let me tell you something! Oh, Mr. Wyatt O'Brien Evans! Oh my God, you are unhinged! Well, you make me that way. You're upsetting me so much, Mr. Wow. You're making my breasts sweat, tremble, and jingle. Well, I think that's a good thing. Well, Mr. Wow, just clutch the pearls and stop the train. I mean, I never. Miss Thang, in 6 months, since we're talking about book sales here, in 6 months, you've only sold like 18 copies of your clunker, your stinker of a book. What in the hell was it called anyway? Oh, Mr. Wyatt O'Brien Evans, I just lost my voice. I mean, you lie. My book is called Popular Penetration. How to Treat Your Man's Big Old Cucumber in Just the Right Way. It's done very, very well. Really? In what reality? Maybe at adult bookstores or massage parlors and sex parties? Oh, Mr. Woe, how did you know? Well, it was just an educated guess. Oh, Mr. Wyatt O'Brien Evans, would you like to come? Would you like to come to a sex party with me and join a train? I mean, you can be the conductor if you know what I mean. What the hell? Oh, Mr. Wyatt O'Brien Evans, you can roll and I can lick, just like that Tony Braxton song, the one that says, I think it's called You Making Me High. Just get out! Get out! Get the hell out! I'm going! And baby, just shake it as you're running out. Just shake it. And don't let the doorknob hit you in the behind on your way out. I'm going! Y'all, she gone. Thank God she gone. All right, now let's let it rip. Today's special guest is Mr. Anthony Oakes. Y'all, he's one hell of a exceptionally talented stand-up performer. He's lighting up the comedy world. He's just taken the mother by storm. And let me tell you something. Mr. Oakes seems to be omnipresent. I mean, he's everywhere. He's in comedy clubs and festivals. He's all over the country with that. He's all across social media. And as well, Anthony produces comedy events throughout the DC metropolitan area. And he's a writer for major publications to boot. So without further ado, let's welcome Mr. Anthony Oakes. Talk at me. How the hell are ya?
I'm great, Wyatt. How's it going?
It is doing great. First of all, Anthony, I know you're busy. I'm really glad that you're doing this show. Let me tell you why I'm really excited to have you on. Back in the day, I was a stand-up comic. I did pretty good. I even made it to the HBO comedy competitions. However, I didn't go the full distance because I wasn't really in the correct headspace.
Mm-hmm.
I was somewhat conflicted about my sexual orientation.
Mm-hmm.
I yearned to do gay-themed material, but was petrified. So I wasn't sharing my truth with the audience. And if you're not your authentic self, the audience can pick that up in a heartbeat. What do you say about that?
Well, I learned that the hard way.
Wow.
I sympathize and I empathize with how you felt. I felt the exact same way. And although I wasn't conflicted about my sexuality, I was conflicted about displaying that on stage. I grew up in the church, both my parents are ministers.
Wow.
So it was very difficult for me to express that part of me on stage. Now, with that being said, I probably went for like maybe 1.5 to 2 years without doing so. And one of my comedy cohorts pulled me to the side and was just like, baby, it's not going to be that funny until you're talking truly about yourself.
Right.
And it wasn't until then that I began to blossom as a comedian.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to joke about what's about yourself, and then you make it relatable to other people. So I wasn't truly being my authentic self until I started expressing that on stage.
That's the exact issue that I had. So I totally relate. Let me tell you, Anthony, your performances are hilarious.
Thank you.
I get that in living color kind of vibe from some of them, sort of irreverent, that sly kind of humor. For example, I was watching one of your Facebook vids that really cracked me the hell up. You were my listeners. Anthony was like this service rep, and he was being totally inattentive to a customer on the phone. I mean, it was like one of those LYAO, laugh your ass off moments. You were funny. I mean, what made you do that?
Well, I've worked at several call centers.
Oh, okay.
And so it's it's me taking experiences and exacerbating them. On both sides of the fence. I've called customer service lines where people have done that to me, and I'm like, what are they doing? I wonder what. But then when I started to work in customer service, I realized that it could be anything. They could be chewing their breakfast. They could be trying to talk to their coworker to see what was going on for the weekend. So it hits on both sides of the fence.
Yeah, I mean, you did that quite well. It was so funny, so funny. So, my listeners, check out Anthony's Facebook page. What's your Facebook address?
It's Anthony Oakes, Oakes, comedian.
Got it. We're going to get your social media near the end of the show, but y'all got to go to this man's Facebook page because it's funny. Anyway. Okay, before we really delve deep into your comedy, let's travel through the corridors of time.
Woo.
So that our listeners can get a fuller flavor of you. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's go for it. Now, you're a Southern guy, so where were you born and raised?
So I was born in Mount Airy, North Carolina, which is also Mayberry, North Carolina, where they filmed Andy Griffith.
Really?
Yes. So that's where I'm from.
Get out.
My family has an estate there. They're on the Historical Society tour.
Wow.
Because of our lineage, and our estate has just been revamped from pre-1865. So yeah, that's where I was born, but I was raised in Winston-Salem, which is about 25 minutes away from me.
So, Anthony, what was your childhood like? Any trials and tribulations? Any interesting experiences that helped make you into the individual that you are today?
Well, let's see. My parents are both ministers. So I grew up in the church.
Okay.
It was a pretty big church. So everything was church. Churchity, church, 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 church.
Okay.
So, of course, I rebelled, as most preachers' kids do. But it wasn't until I went off to college.
Right.
But growing up, my parents, they've been married 7 times.
Wow.
My dad
to each other?
Nope. My dad is on his 4th marriage, and my mom just got her 3rd divorce.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I don't count my mom out though. I feel like she's back in the race. She's trying to get up there with my daddy.
Oh no!
I never count her out because she's on it. I think they're racing each other.
That's something else. Okay. Now, I always like to ask my special guests the following question, and here it is. Just what was Anthony like as a boy? A little nipper. Give us 3 characteristics or qualities that best described you.
Growing up, I was an extrovert. I was a listening ear. I was also depressed.
Got it. The first 2 are things that you really need to be a successful comedian.
True.
Depression, I totally get it because I have suffered from it. And so many of us gay, SGL, same gender loving men are going through it. We don't want to deal with it, but we got to.
Definitely.
Well, how did you deal with your depression, and what were you depressed about? Your sexual orientation, or what was the deal there?
I think it was a combination. It's definitely a combination of sexual orientation, and also as I got older, my purpose in life. I think finding your purpose is essential in living a healthy life, mentally, physically, and I just did not have that. I did not know what my purpose was, which led me to abuse drugs, to make irrational decisions, And it wasn't until I found comedy that it alleviated that. It gave me a sense of purpose. It was like it was an epiphany. A light bulb went off in my head. Was like, this is why you're here. You should have been doing this the whole time. And I've actually, once I look back, I've always been the levity of situations. I've always provided that levity in situations that people have always come to me for laughter. It just wasn't wrapped and put in a package.
Well put. Well put. Anthony, when and how did the comedy let me back that up. When and how did the comedy bug first bite you? And when did you know for sure that you wanted to make performing your career?
So I moved to DC about 7 years ago, and I was working in a natural hair care salon. I was a shampoo tech, and I would be shampooing people, and they would be like, "Oh my God, yo, you are so funny. You are so funny. You're so funny. You're so funny." And it just kept happening over and over again. I was shampooing this one client. He was like, "Hey, dude, you're funny. I'm going to give you the number to this guy. He's my comedian friend. He's going to, he can show you the ropes or whatever." He gave me the number. I looked at it and then I discarded the number because I was like, I'm not trying to do that. A month later, another client, I'm shampooing her. She's like, "Hey, you are super funny. You should try comedy." She said, "I'm doing this workshop. I'm going to give you the information." Long story short, my boss was right there. He was like, "Yo, I really feel like you should do it. I'll even let you off, so you could take the workshop." So I took the workshop. It was like for 2 months. It was actually an LGBT based workshop. It was called In Laughing Color with Chelsea Short. Yeah, we did that for 2 months. Then they had a showcase of everybody who was in the workshop. That first showcase, when I got up and did my joke for the first, like my set for the first time and told my first joke, after the wave of laughter rolled in, it was as if time stopped. Now, at this time, I was a cocaine abuser. I had prayed about 3 months ago to God, "Hey, I need purpose. I need a love in my life. I give out so much love. I feel like these things should be coming to me. Where are they? Where's my purpose? Why am I here?" In that moment of me delivering my first joke and receiving that wave of laughter, time stopped. It was as if I was still telling my jokes, but I was going through this moment in my head and in my body. And it was saying, "This is your purpose. This is what you're supposed to be doing for the rest of your life. And you should have always been doing it." But it was in that moment that I knew right then and there. And that was about 6 years ago.
You are so lucky. I totally get where you're coming from and how you feel, because I've always known that either comedy or being an author or I'm a voiceover instructor as well, doing something with people in the entertainment field was what my purpose is. And let me also say that you were also lucky, Anthony, that you had the support system that was non-family as well.
True.
Because, sometimes family will say, "Yeah, you're funny, you're funny, you're funny." Sure you are. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Some of them will, some of them won't. But you had these people that were non-family, blood ties, who believed in you. And sometimes it's really hard for us creative people because a lot of folks don't understand what we do.
True.
And why we do it. So that piece. And another thing too, I was going to ask you about the whole stage fright thing, because when you're on stage and you're really wowing the crowd, for me, it felt like having a fucking orgasm.
Oh, totally. Totally.
Tell us about
it. Definitely, it's a mental, it's an ethereal moment that is I kind of equate it to, I always often joke and say that comedy is my new cocaine because it gives you that feeling of euphoria. When you're on stage and you're killing it, I mean, it's like your head is about to explode, but in a good way. It's an amazing feeling. Um, yeah, and there's nothing like it, and it really just lets you know that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. There's an affirmation in it.
Yes. Oh, wow. You're absolutely right because people have paid to see you. They might be depressed or they have issues, and you are there to make them feel good and forget their shit for an hour or whatever. And for me, that gave me so much. That was another high, if that makes
Oh,
sense.
totally. It totally makes sense.
Well, how do you deal with stage fright? How do you restrain it? What do you do?
So I wouldn't necessarily even call it stage fright because
Okay.
I don't necessarily like so I'm also a thespian. So I grew up doing theater on the
Oh,
stage. So and I've always been in front of the church. I've always been leading the choir,
right.
directing, singing lead, you know, all of these things that prepared me for this. So a stage is not
Ah,
something that was unfamiliar to me.
right.
But before even I don't care what kind of show it is. If I'm doing a free show for a friend, if I'm doing an open mic, if I'm at the improv, um, there's a nervousness that you feel before you go on stage, and you simply have to embrace it. What it does is it's preparing you to give your all on stage. It's pushing you. It's kind of
Mm,
like amping you up. That's how I use it. That nervous feeling in the pit of your stomach, like before you're about to go up.
right.
And you might have to go use the bathroom. Go use the bathroom and make sure that it's all empty in there, you know. But for the most part, I take that nervous energy and I pump myself up to go out there and kill it. And you should, and I don't know, when I hear people say, "Oh, I ain't there, I don't feel nothing when I'm about to go and stand by," I don't really
Mm.
trust that.
Yeah, because I was going to actually ask you about that. I didn't. I don't trust it either. I think we all have that whatever you want to call it right before you walk on stage.
You should be feeling like you're about to do something great. If you're not feeling like that, then you're
Mhm.
unsure about what you're about to do.
Very good point. Okay, well, how do you handle hecklers and difficult crowds?
Hecklers, you know, when I first started doing comedy, like within my first year, I was like kind of feeling myself. I was like, oh, I'm a comedian now. I'm gonna go to New York. I'm gonna go to New York and see what's going on in these rooms. And I remember I
Mm,
went to do this room, and you know, New Yorkers they're different. They're a different type of crowd, and they were just,
mhm.
you know, interrupting my set, um, knocking me off kilter. Couldn't remember where I was in the joke. It was a lesson learned. It
Right.
was a really good lesson for me to learn my first year. Um, and then after that, I kind of, you kind of have to, it's like a magician. You're, you're kind of taking the attention away from the heckler. For instance, I recently just posted a video. The caption is, "I just casted out my first takeover spirit at a comedy show because this lady was just being irate, and instead of falling into what the lady was even talking about, I just asked the audience to stretch forth their hands towards this lady. I want you to stretch forth your hands, and we're going to rebuke that attention speak getting spirit, that takeover spirit right now. Come out of her right now. We rebuke you. You can no longer stay here. And the crowd just thought it was so hilarious. And
Mm,
she had no smoke after that. She, there was no fire in her engines. And they just escorted her on out. But you have to kind of get the crowd on your side when dealing
right.
with it. I wouldn't even engage the heckler themselves because
Mm.
you have to go back and forth. And I'm just not really a back and forth kind of person. I'm just going to make fun of the situation and keep it moving.
Well, you definitely turned the tables on Sister Girl.
Oh, it
That's
was,
good.
I had to go back and watch the video because it was so funny.
Okay. Every comedian bombs in their career. So, and y'all bombing means you're fucked up.
Yeah.
Nobody's laughing at you. The audience just will not respond. So, tell us, if you would, your most memorable bomb. Where were you? What happened? What was the deal?
Hmm. It would have to be. I got booked for this show by another comedian friend, and
Mhm.
I should have asked them why didn't they do it because they never gave any reason of like, oh, I'm doing it because I got booked for another show or something like that. And then
Right.
I was like, oh, cool, you know what I'm saying. And this was when I was in my first kind of stages, and when somebody says they're paying you, you're like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna do the show. So I show up, and the location was this place called Phase Two. Now I
Mm.
never heard of Phase Two, but it was a legendary lesbian club in DC. It was in
Oh,
Capitol Hill.
okay.
So I got there. I was sitting down. I was waiting to. Now I'd been corresponding with the person who who was the contact for the show. Their name was Jeffrey or something like that. So I kept looking for Jeffrey, never saw Jeffrey. And then this woman comes over and was like,
Uh-oh.
hi, I'm Jeffrey. You must be Anthony. Um, and I was just, and it was a woman, a cisgender woman. I just didn't understand what was going on. She was like, hey, yeah, all of the performers are downstairs. You can go wait with them. So I went over to the door, opened the door, and it's literally like a dungeon. I felt like, remember in um, Silence of the Lambs when he had her in that little pit and it was like he puts the lotion on its skin or else it gets the hose again.
Oh,
That's where
God.
it looked like I was going. And I was like, no, I think I'm gonna just sit up here. And when it's time, you can just, call me
Right.
up or whatever. So the first act got up and it was a lady dressed like a librarian. And I was like, okay, this is where she must be a comedian. She's gonna perform. And she got up there and then she took off her glasses, she took off her bun, and then she snatched off her jean dress. And
Mm.
yeah, it was some type of a transgendered strip show.
Whoa.
And then
Okay.
I went up after her. And I did not know what to do. I did not, I was so thrown off kilter. I couldn't remember my jokes. I just could not. It was one of my worst sets ever. And they did not, I didn't even get any sympathy laughs. You know how sometimes the crowd is like,
Yeah.
it was nothing. It was just straight silence.
Oh, no.
Yeah, for 5 minutes. And when you're up there, 5 minutes, it doesn't sound long.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's an eternity
Mhm.
with no
Mhm.
laughter.
Mhm.
And you're just having to you're forcing yourself to keep going because you just don't, you're literally forcing yourself to tell these jokes because at this point it's like they're not getting them. They don't even want them. So that was the weirdest and the worst bombing show that I've had.
Wow. Oh, wow. Okay. Anthony, what makes a gifted comic? I mean, one who separates himself or herself from the pack. What makes a gifted comic?
Oh, I would say being funny. Um,
Yeah. Of
but
course.
it's so much more than that. You have to take your career into your own hands. The gifted comics know how to do that because not only are they funny, they've come to the realization that they know who they are, they know what they have to offer, and they take their own career by the reins. And they don't wait on anyone to book them. They don't wait on anyone, any phone call or anything of that nature. Um, they create a lane for themselves. And all the comedians that are on fire right now, that's what they've done.
Mm, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, what about work-life balance? Because
Woo!
as a stand-up, because when I did it, I was regional, DC, sometimes North Carolina, Connecticut, Massachusetts, that sort of thing. And I was on the road a lot, back and forth, back and forth. So, what is work-life balance for you? And if you're in a relationship, how does your boo deal with that?
So I just got engaged.
Hey,
Yay!
congratulations.
So my fiance has been there from the beginning. He is my number one supporter. He only recently, like, I'll be like, baby, you don't have to come to this show. And that's within the past year or so. But he's
Mhm.
at all the shows. He knows all the
Aw.
comedians. They like him better than they like me. Um, but it's that I could not be where I am without him first and foremost because he definitely is my biggest supporter and my biggest critic. So
That's important.
very much so, and he does not bite his tongue. But yeah, I definitely I definitely have his support. So, there's not a time where I'm like, babe, I gotta go do a show. And he's like, you're never at home. Or he's like, please go get out. Please. Am I going with you? What? You don't want to go by yourself? Or if he feels like I haven't been like out in the streets, he'll be like, don't you ain't got no shows coming up? Like what's up? What's going on? So it allows me to be great. His support allows me to be great. Now, it is a lot still because I still, I like to cook for my baby. I like to, spend time with my baby. And I also work another full time job.
Mhm.
So it's a lot of balancing. It's also a lot of sometimes saying no to other people.
Yeah.
Um,
No is a liberating word.
woo, I just got chills just saying it just now.
Mm.
No. So yeah, it's a balancing act and you can burn yourself out. I've definitely had to step back and, hey, I'm just going to take care of me this week. I'm not, going to go out and do, cause I work full time and I'll go out and perform 3 to 4, 5 nights a week.
Wow.
So it's a lot. And I have to be here for my baby, make sure this house clean, make sure we cook and all that.
Well, Anthony, thank you for sharing that. You are one of the luckier talents because, again, when you have someone, a partner in your corner who truly supports you, cheers you on, and understands what you're doing, you're ahead of the game.
I concur. I'm blessed.
That is
Definitely a blessing.
that is great. Okay, Mr. Funny Man.
Ha!
You've performed in numerous clubs across the country. Y'all look. His ever growing list includes the DC Improv in Washington, D.C., the Ice House Comedy Club in L.A., Los Angeles, and the Broadway, the West Side, and the Greenwich Village Comedy Clubs in the Big Apple. Tell us a little bit about those experiences and which one you enjoy the most.
Oh, I'm gonna say that I enjoyed the DC Improv, my first booking there. Um, it came from my homie Paris Sachet. She recorded a comedy album there, and I featured for her all weekend. It was bananas, and just it led to so many other booking gigs down the road with the improv, and it really opened the door. I appreciate her for that opportunity, for the booker Antoine for that opportunity. It like really opened the door for me. But the other performances at those places, like my homie Dave, he was the greatest host. He was at the Ice House in Cali, and he recently passed away. So
wow.
I will always cherish that time at that, because that was one of the first LA shows that I had ever done, that I was
Sure.
booked for. So I was thoroughly appreciative of that. The Greenwich Village Comedy Club, my first comedy competition, I won there in New York.
Yeah, all right.
So that was banana. Shout out to Candace August, who produced that competition. And the Broadway Comedy Club, Alex Starr, who was, you remember when I told you about the guy I was shampooing and he gave me the number to,
Yeah.
So the come to find out, after I did my showcase, after the comedy workshop, one of the mentors pulled me aside and she was like, "Hey, I see something in you. It's great. You know, I'm not trying to say that the other people don't have it, but you definitely have it and you should pursue this." She was like, "I'm going to hook you up with my friend. He's a comedian. And he's going to set you on the path." She gave me the name. It was the same name that the guy had given me months ago. These are two people that are just nowhere near each other in relation. And it was weird that even, it was like a sign. So I called him the following week and he was like, "Oh yeah, meet me here. This is a place called the Beer Baron here in DC. It's called the DC Comedy Loft now." And I met him there. He was a little inebriated. We were at the bar. He was like, "You ready? You ready?" And I was like, I was thinking he meant like in general, you know, am I ready for this comedy thing? And I'm like, yeah. He was like, all right. I'm going to put you up. And then he goes and we walk over to this thing and pulls back this curtain. There's like 100 people in this room. He's like, I'm about to put you up. And he has been doing that for the past 6 years. So shout out to Alex Starr and Starstruck Productions. And it's people like that have really just been, you know, those names come with the places. They're interchangeable sometimes. And I'm grateful that I have performed at those places and met these amazing people throughout the way.
That is awesome. Awesome. And you were a participant in the 2021 DC Comedy Festival and the 2021 Sixth City Comedy Festival. How did that stuff turn out?
So we literally just wrapped the DC Comedy Festival last week, I think. It was bananas. Cool. Shout out to Eddie Lyles and Rob Gordon. They put on an amazing DC Comedy Festival. It was a week long. I hosted on Wednesday at Busboys and Poets on 14th and V. It was an amazing show. And then I went on vacation to Puerto Rico. So I didn't go the rest of the week. But prior to that, I did me and my comedy partner, Patrice DeVoe, we went and did the Sixth City Comedy Festival in Cleveland, and it was amazing. We had an amazing time. We met some amazing comedians. There were great crowds. Shout out to Marla Everett for putting that on. It was amazing. And then we have the Memphis Urban Comedy Festival coming up next week.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So tell us about it right now.
So it is the Memphis Urban Laughs Comedy Festival, and it's put on by LaToya Polk. And she has a venue there called the Comedy Junt. And it's a comedy club out in Memphis. She puts on this festival. It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So it's the 6th through the 10th of October. And we're going out there to blow it up.
All right. All right. Now, like I said, my listeners, Mr. Funny Man here gets around because he's also show host at the storied Busboys and Poets restaurant, and you produce several comedy shows in the DC metro area. Give us the 411.
So once I years and years ago, after I took that workshop, what they in the workshop, they tell you how to, construct jokes, stage presence, things of that nature, but they really didn't tell you where to go to work on your material. So I was kind of lost. I didn't know about rooms and open mics, and things of that nature. So a friend told me about Busboys. And so that for years, that's where I went to hone my comedy, because they have a Busboy. They have 6 locations here in DC now. So there was a show every night at a different location, and I would go every night to a different location. A crowd of 80 to 100 people all knew, you know what I'm saying? And it allowed me to work on my skills.
Right.
And then I did it for so long. When they had an opening for a show host, they hired me for 450 K Street. It was called 5th and K back in the day, but it's called 450 K Street, Busboys and Poets. I do every first Wednesday. And every now and then, like this week, I do the fifth Wednesday. So I do the 1st and the 5th. And it's amazing. It's dancers, singers, musicians, poets, comedians. It's an amazing show. And outside of that, I rent the space and produce shows there as well. And I do a show called 7 Black Minutes, and it's 7 Black comedians doing 7 Black minutes of blackity blackness. It's amazing, and I love it because as Black people, we are not monolithic, and I stack my comedians to where they can cater to different types of Black people. My audience is it's comprised of different types of Black people.
Got it.
So it's an amazing show. It's so fun, and it's so affirming and loving and Black, and just all things Blackness. And I love doing it. I love producing it. The crowd is just wonderful. The comedians, they feel comfortable. It's just about the being able to relate, that really sends it over the edge.
I really like that because you're providing something for everybody. That is so cool. Now, you are also co-host of Black Think Tank with Anthony and Patrice, which is on Facebook Live every Tuesday. Give us the tea about that.
So it's funny that you said give us the tea. I used to host a show called Thursday Night Tea with Anthony. And I did it for years, and it came to a close. And before it came to a close, I had my friend Patrice DeVoe, who is a comedian out of Richmond, Virginia. I had her to help me just co-host the last couple of episodes. And I remember on our last episode, she was like, God, I don't want it to end. She was like, I wish we, could, do more of it. And I was just like, well, I don't want to do it like this. So when she said that, my mind instantly just, went to another place. And I was like, I would love to have a platform for where we could just talk about like Black issues, and we can, strategically get professionals to talk about these issues. We had so many, we had doctors, people in the military. Marsha Warfield was on the show to talk about comedy, back in the day and things of that nature.
Right.
It was an amazing show, and it came out of the pandemic. When the pandemic started, that's when Black Think Tank started. And it ran for like a year and a half. And then, things began to open back up. And as you know, it's very difficult to come up with content. It was a weekly show. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
also working a full-time job. I'm also getting out here on these stages. I'm also in a full-blown relationship. And it was becoming
Right.
too much.
Yeah.
Now it was myself and Patrice DeVoe, and it was also the Turnip Seeds. It was Haywood Turnip Seed and his wife Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an amazing show. Now it's really on like a hiatus at the moment because
Okay.
we're all thank God we're all booked and busy. We all have things that we're doing. But who knows? We might bring it back and bring it on a live stage.
Got it. Okay. We will look for that. Now, you're also a writer. Tell us a little bit about that.
So I went to the University of North Carolina at Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
My junior year, I had an opportunity to move to New York, and I did. I moved to New York. I worked in television for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I My cousin was a beauty editor of this magazine, and she was like, "Hey, because I was an English major." She was like, "We
Okay.
need a writer bad. I need for you to, come up here and blah blah blah." And on
uh,
my first day, the editor of the magazine, she was like, just I don't I shout out to Alicia Rivers, but I feel like at first she was like being just a little. She was like, "Oh, just write me something so I can see where you are." And I was
good.
like, cool. Not only did I write her something, but I went to images, had the people teach me how to pull the Getty images off the computer. I put them with my layout, and I had like the full
Okay.
page layout. And she looked at me in amazement. She was like, "Congratulations, you're published." And she published what I had done. And then I, got published many times over. I did guest work for Lucky Magazine, Black Hairstyles and Trends. I worked in television for 3 years with Banyan Productions. I did Ambush Makeover for 3 years. Um,
Wow.
yeah, and it's just been amazing. So I freelance a lot. A lot of it is technical writing, um,
Mm-hmm.
and things of that nature. But yeah, multiple streams. We have to have multiple streams of income.
Damn right you do. Yes, yes. Okay, Anthony, let's do a deep dive into the business of comedy.
Hmm.
How are openly gay SGL comedians faring, particularly blacks? How effective um, are they in? Are they regarding breaking barriers, pushing into the mainstream?
They are killing it right now. People now, I
Hmm.
think there's always a difference. I think that it's more difficult for gay males to excel
Mm.
and get to that kind of point that we're all trying to attain. But I feel like
Hmm.
as far as gay women, um, they're out here killing it. Prime example, Paris Sachet is just out here destroying it. She's been to Just for Laughs. She's at Kevin Hart's, BET. She's at Comedy Central. She's literally blowing up. Not only her, Frankie French, and these women are also all out of the DMV area.
Wow.
And she just won Stand Up New York. Um, uh, and they are literally out here killing it. Darren Fleet is another. He's a comedian who started on the internet, who was out here
Hmm.
just killing the game. So I think that there's a place for us, but like I said before, you have to take your own career by your own reins. Nobody's gonna be there to help you out. Nobody. You have to.
Hmm.
People are gonna help you out, but you have to steer it yourself.
Right.
And you have to just, like I said before, take your own career by the reins.
Got it. My listeners, listen to Mr. Funny Man here. In that vein, Anthony, what important pieces of advice would you give any talent trying to make it in comedy? Besides actually what you just said.
Be true to yourself. There are people that I look up to in comedy, even as a gay performer, like Samson McCormick.
Mm-hmm.
Just one of the legends that I look up to. Find you somebody, see what they did, put your spin on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as your
Mm-hmm.
career is going, make it modern to what you're doing at the time,
Right.
and living your truth, because it's never going to work unless you do that. Like, the jokes are never going to hit unless you do that. The stages will never call you unless you do that. The crowds will never come unless you're your true, authentic self. It all starts there.
Got it. Makes sense. Anthony, what else do you have on tap for the rest of 2021?
So 2021, well, let's see, October, because we're about to bust into October. I am at the DC Improv for a weekend. I'm there, I think, the 15th, 16th, and 17th. It's 5 shows.
Oh, wow.
So make sure you go to dcimprov.com to get those tickets. Also on the 31st, which is Halloween, I'll be doing 7 Black Minutes. That's on Eventbrite. You can get the tickets for that. And I'm going to be hitting the road. I'm going to be hitting the road. I'm doing these festivals. You can always find me on any social media platform by my name. And I have a link tree. You can go look up Anthony Oakes Comedian, and it'll give you the entire listing of what I got going on. So, yeah, I'll be at Bus Boys and Poets this Wednesday, September 29th and October the 6th, because I have to do the 5th Wednesday and the 1st Wednesday. So, yeah, I'm a busy little bee.
Yes, you are. You're just buzzing all around, my brother. Well, Mr. Anthony Oakes, I want to thank you for dropping by. Wyatt, you gotta come back.
Let me tell you, I love your energy. I love your spirit. I saw you sent me the previous show. I watched that. It was amazing. Please keep going. I love your voice. It is so soothing. It sounds like, if I just close my eyes, I would just feel like I'm in a studio, like with you. So I can see how you're a voice. You said you're a voice instructor, right?
Exactly.
I feel like you should be doing State Farm, where you're the State Farm man.
State Farm. State Farm. Yes, I'll be the new Jake for State Farm.
Definitely.
Jake does State Farm, doesn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Jake from State Farm.
Got it.
Or Allstate, the Allstate man. That's who I'm in.
Right.
You're in good hands.
You're in good hands with Allstate.
Proving my theory. See, already.
You're such a charming guy, and I really appreciate that, because that's what makes it all worthwhile.
I'm telling you.
But anyway, thank you again, Anthony. I want you to come back, and much success on everything that you're doing.
Thank you, Wyatt. I appreciate it.
So there you have it. You can find the official Wyatt podcast page on WyattEvans.com. And the official hashtag is WyattOnAir. And if you want to be a guest on Wyatt, or you just have comments, email me at WyattOnAir@gmail.com. You can follow me, Wyatt O'Brien Evans, your host, on Facebook.com/Wyatt O'Brien Evans. O'Brien has an A, y'all, and not an E. I don't want to see any E's. Don't want to see them. I want to see an A. On Twitter at Mr. Woe. MISTERWOE. MISTERWOE. And on Instagram at Mr. Wyatt O. MRWYATTO. And hey, be sure to check out my Nothing Can Tear Us Apart series of novels. The latest being Frenzy. I said Frenzy. And its predecessor, Rage. all at WyattEvans.com. So until next time, y'all, woof, goddammit, woof, woof, woof.